Welcome students to this session on pulses, legumes and beans. Pulses are the edible fruits or seeds of pod-bearing leguminous plants. You would have studied about the leguminous plants in your lower classes in botany. The legumes may be broadly grouped into three types. They are the grams, peas, and the beans. So these are the three varieties under the legumes. We also call the legumes as the pulses. The term pulse in India is used for the edible legumes. Edible legumes are those that we can eat, which we can consume. They are called as the edible legumes. Dal is used to indicate the decuticled split legumes. We consume the legumes as a whole legume, which means as a whole gram, as in the case of Bengal gram, or we consume them as peas, green peas, or beans, the different type of beans, moth beans, for example. So we consume them as a whole legume, or sometimes we also consume them as a dal, like we have the green gram dal or the red gram dal or the Bengal gram dal. So we consume as the whole legume. When we consume them as the whole legume, they are called as the gram. Or when we consume the peas, we consume it whole, or even the beans we consume at whole. And sometimes we also consume them as dal. And what is dal? Dal is the decuticled. What is the meaning of decuticled? Decuticled means removal of the outer cuticle, or the removal of the outer portion, the husk-like portion that is present in the seed is called as the cuticle. Decuticled means removal of the cuticle is called as the decuticled. And split legumes. So in every gram, when we take a seed, in every seed there will be two cotyledons, right? So similarly here, inside that seed, we told they are the edible fruits or seeds. So in any seed, there will be two portions, two cotyledons we will have. So here we split the seed into two. So that is called as the split legumes. So from one seed, you will get two dal. Do you understand? So the legumes, they are also consumed as dal, and that dal is defined as the decuticled, removal of the seed coat, and the split legumes. In this image, you can see the different types of the pulses. You can see the grams, dal, beans, peas. So these are the various varieties of legumes that are edible. Bengal gram is nothing but the channa or kondai kadalai. Red gram is tuvarambaruppu. Black gram is ulundu. Green gram, pacha pairu. Lentils or the various beans, mochai. Horse gram is kollu. Peas, patani. And kesari dal is kesari paruppu only. Are some of the major pulse crops that are cultivated in India. So different types of pulses are grown there, and it is unique to different parts of India also. In northern India, there are different types of beans that are extensively used in various food preparations, like rajma is very popularly used in northern India, but we don't use it very much. We use only occasionally rajma, but there rajma is used for as a side dish in the preparation of the side dish for rotis. Rajma is used extensively. Soya bean is also grown in India. Pulses are the important sources of protein in the diets of low income group of population in the developing country. So we have studied in the basic 5 food groups, the pulses and the legumes, they belong to the second food group. And these foods, they give us plenty of protein. Of course, they give us energy, but it is rich in protein, vitamins and minerals. And this is providing majority of the protein requirement of people, particularly people who are vegetarian and also people who have a low socio-economic status, that is the poor people. All of us know that the animal foods like milk, meat, fish, egg, etc., they are expensive and they are also rich in protein. So if a person is able to consume animal foods, they will get plenty of protein. But if they are poor, if they cannot purchase and consume the animal foods, then the alternate for that would be the pulses, because pulse will provide adequate amount of protein to the vegetarians also. So it is a rich source of protein, and it is the chief source of protein in the diet of the people who live in the developing countries like India. Let us now see the composition and the nutritive value of pulses. Carbohydrates, energy. Pulses give about 340 calories per 100 grams, which is almost similar to the cereal calorie. Though we say that the pulses are a rich source of protein, they also provide us energy, and the amount of energy present in the pulses is equal to the amount of energy that are provided by the cereals, and it is about 340 calories per 100 grams. Pulses contain 55 to 60% of carbohydrates, and the carbohydrates are present in different forms. They are present as starch. Starch is a polysaccharide. So the carbohydrate starch is present in the pulses. Also soluble sugars like the monosaccharides and the disaccharides are present, and they also contain fiber. Right? So these are the various forms in which carbohydrates are present in the pulses. Pulses is called as the poor man's meat. Why is it called as the poor man's meat? Because the protein-rich pulse is substituted in the diet of a poor man, or it will provide as much protein as that of meat in the poor man's diet. So that is why it is called as the poor man's meat. Pulses are a rich source of protein and contain about 18 to 25% of protein. Soya bean is an exception, and it is a very rich source of protein containing about 35 to 40% of protein. So the amount of protein present in the soya bean is very much high when compared to the other pulses like green gram or the Bengal gram, and compared to the other pulses, soya bean has more amount of protein. They give double the amount of protein compared to the cereals. All the pulses, they have double the amount of protein when compared to the cereals. Cereals, they have energy and they also have little amount of protein. So here the amount of protein is double that of the cereals. And the protein that are commonly present in the legumes include globulins and the albumins. These are the type in which the protein is present, globulins and the albumins. And they are deficient in methionine. What is methionine? Methionine is a amino acid. And what is amino acid? Amino acids are the building blocks of the protein. Amino acids are derived from protein. So, the amino acid methionine is deficient in the pulses, and in red gram, tryptophan also is deficient. Tryptophan is not present in the red gram. Similarly, all the pulses do not contain, or it contains very less amount of methionine. The pulses, they can be complemented to cereals. All the pulses contain sufficient amount of lysine, which is deficient in cereals, and therefore they can supplement the cereal protein. So the pulses are have adequate amount of lysine. Lysine is an amino acid. So the pulses are a rich source of lysine, whereas the cereals are a poor source of lysine. And similarly, the pulses are a poor source of methionine, and cereals are a rich source of methionine. So the amino acid that is absent in the cereal is present in the pulses, and the amino acid that is present in the pulses is absent in the cereals. Therefore, a mixture of cereals and pulses is superior to either consuming cereal alone or pulses alone. Hence, a combination of cereals and pulses is ideal for human consumption because it will improve the quality of the protein. This is called as the mutual supplementation of the amino acid. The amino acid methionine is deficient in the pulses and it is present in the cereals. The amino acid lysine is deficient in the cereals which is present in the pulses. Therefore, each of these can complement each other and it can improve the quality of the protein. And this process is called as the mutual supplementation of the amino acids. Lipids are also present in the pulses. Pulses contain about 1.5% of the lipids and they contain high amount of polyunsaturated fatty acids. Fatty acids are of different types. They are saturated and unsaturated. This is the basic classification. Saturated and unsaturated. And the unsaturated fatty acids are further classified into polyunsaturated fatty acids and monounsaturated fatty acids. And here the pulses contain more of polyunsaturated fatty acids. Along with cereals, they meet the requirement of the essential fatty acids. What are the essential fatty acids? Essential fatty acids are those that can be supplied only through the food. They cannot be synthesized in our body. Those fatty acids are called as the essential fatty acids. There are three fatty acids that are essential. They are linoleic acid, linolenic acid, and arachidonic acid. So these are called as the essential fatty acids. These essential fatty acids cannot be produced in the body. They have to be consumed through the food. And they have very important functions to be performed in the body. And therefore, the amount of fatty acids that are supplied through the pulses and those that are present in the cereal is adequate to supply the essential fatty acid requirement of the human being. So what does this mean? It means that the amount of essential fatty acid can be met by consuming adequate amount of cereals and proteins. Minerals. Pulses also contain various minerals such as calcium, magnesium, zinc, iron, potassium and phosphorus. And 80% of the phosphorus that is present in the pulses, they are bound to phytic acid and they occur as phytate phosphorus. Pulses are an excellent source of B complex vitamins, particularly thiamine, folic acid and pantothenic acid. All the B vitamins are present, almost all the B vitamins are present in the pulses. The thymine content of pulses is equal to or it exceeds that of the cereals. The amount of thiamine is vitamin B1. The content of the vitamin thiamine is equal to that of thiamine present in the cereals, or sometimes it is more than that of the cereals also. It is a rich source of B vitamins and therefore they contribute significantly to the B vitamin intake. So when adequate amount of pulses and cereals are consumed, it would supply almost all the B vitamin requirement for the human being. They are a poor source of keratin. So from keratin only vitamin A can be synthesized. So keratin is very less in the pulses or we do not have keratin in the pulses. And vitamin C is not present, right? Vitamin C is not present in the pulses. But it is a fair source of niacin. So, keratin is absent, vitamin C is absent, and almost all the B vitamins are present, and it is a fair source of niacin. However, germination increases vitamin C content of the pulses. So, in the raw, dry pulses, vitamin C is not present. But when the pulses are germinated, vitamin C will be synthesized in the pulses. We will see that later.